I'm at the Arts Centre in Christchurch to meet with an expert in magic, witchcraft and the dead. I'm meeting with Lyndon Fraser, a professor in anthropology at the University of Canterbury, who can help us get insight into the mystical. But what is magic? Or is it beyond explanation?
When we talk about magic, we usually talk about ways in which we're going to try and shape the world in certain ways through using various means, which might be, spells we always go to, but it might be the way that we use crystals or the way that we use herbs to create something within the world. So magic takes all sorts of variety of forms. It's not one of the first things I do in the class, because we talk about experiences we've had, and I have had those experiences that some would describe as uncanny, that I would describe as supernatural. For example, seeing apparitions in a room that have appeared to me. I had one person who could see, when we went to Barbados Street Cemetery, Addington Cemetery, who could see spirits at these places and would have spirits pulling this person back. Now, once upon a time we would have seen this person as a seer. Their job might have been to talk to the dead, because they could see a world that the rest of us can't see. So I definitely believe, from what I've learned from students and from other people, that there are those with a gift in this regard. Some may see it as a curse, but they have the capacity to do this. Some of us can be more attuned to these kinds of things, but there are dimensions we don't fully understand yet.
Fascinating. I want to ask where the idea of witchcraft came from and how it influenced the world of today.
Witchcraft is something I've always been drawn to ever since I was a kid, and the course itself looks at magic and witchcraft and the dead across human history, so right from back in ancient Egypt right through to the present. What's really interesting about witchcraft and magic is that we think today that it's only women who have practiced these arts or who have been persecuted, but in fact in many parts of the world it is primarily men who are involved in witchcraft and magic. So in parts of the Pacific, some of the key people who were put to death, who lost their lives, were men, including George Burroughs, who was a Puritan minister but was thought to consort with the devil and to be a leader of the witches. But we can't blame Christianity, because there have been long periods within Christianity where there's been no persecution of witches and so on. It was just a particularly fraught moment where there were lots of factors at play. There was a shortage of food, there were climatic changes, there were things that people interpreted as signs of the end times. And part of the fear was a fear of the devil and those who did the devil's work, who were considered to be witches. So someone comes round and visits you, and then your cow dies. And what has caused this? What has brought this about? Well, maybe this person has put some kind of hex or spell or dark magic, and that leads to an accusation of witchcraft. Now, for anthropologists, what's interesting in some parts of the world is that people are still put to death, right? So on one level, we want to appreciate we all have different ideas about the world, and that's really cool, and other people may have a different way of doing things and respect that. But on the other hand, if you are accused of witchcraft and it turns out your guilt or innocence is based on the way, if I slit the throat of a chook, and the way that it dies with its wings up or wings down determines whether you're guilty of witchcraft or not, and certain terrible things may happen to you as a result, then it makes us think, are there better ways? And who should make that call anyway? Whose right is it to actually say whether this is wrong or right? So I think right now what we're seeing is a big resurgence in the number of people who are interested in witchcraft, interested in magic. It's not new in the sense that there was a researcher who did all this work and found there were quite a few feminist witches around the country who were very active, who were writing and doing things, but I think it's just exploded. The witches that I know are really into cycles, so the lunar cycle, the cycle of life, menstrual cycles, all those things are seen, and they're working those and doing various things and various rituals that work those things together. So it's a really strong connection to the body, a really strong connection to the environment. You can be still persecuted in some parts of the world on the basis of alleged witchcraft, even though you've never practiced for us is, I'll go and order on Amazon The Green Witch and read that and I can practice and no one's going to persecute me. That is not the case in most parts of the world. So we're extremely privileged to be able to do that.
What a magical interview. It turns out men can be witches too. This is Katja Mirkovic from Vibe.